Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's an international call. We've got a special call for you today. As you know, we like to change things up all the time and do different things. So I've got a special guest on today, Gunnar Habitz. Gunnar has very kindly agreed to come and give us a special training on how to get the very best from LinkedIn. I know a lot of you are using online marketing to build your businesses, so this is going to be quite an important call, to say the least. Bit of background on Gunnar. He's got quite an amazing background, actually. He's a software engineer. He created the intranet at Mercedes-Benz in the early days, led sales teams at 𝙏𝙝𝙖𝙣𝙠 covering 29 European countries, published 21 books, no less, about travel and leadership. Moved to Sydney 4 years ago and built his audience and strategic networker, jumped across many networks, marketing projects over the years. And these days he also educates small businesses about LinkedIn and social media. So he's a real expert in this area. He would normally charge quite a lot of money for doing this sort of thing, but as he's a member of the CFX team, he's very kindly said he'd come along and give us a training. So over to you, Gunnar.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Richard. I'm honored to be here to talk about all what I learned about LinkedIn. And despite the fact that I have also created online courses for this, I really would like to compromise whatever is relevant to us in our industry in this LinkedIn Power Lab session as part of your Saturday training. So let me show you how to turn a passive profile into active attraction with clever conversion. So let's go. So what I would like to cover, first of all, by myself, my name is Gunnar, I'm a trader, not yet far ahead, but actually I started only in September. I really like the journey here together on with all of you in Cashfx. So what we will cover today is, first of all, convince with trust. That's a very important step. Then change your profile, connect properly, comment with style, heavily underrated, create material from others, create own content, and finally, how to craft direct messages. Many of you are using Ray's Powerbuild system, which has also a component of LinkedIn. So don't see this as something else, but rather as a kind of an addition into what Ray already put in place on his side. So let's start in convincing with trust. And here's one important point. Many of you are operating social media, let's say on Facebook or on Instagram, and also use this to reach out to new people. As an example, Ron Palmer found me on Facebook. So like many others, I would say, who is that one? Who is that person? How can I find out beyond his more maybe private side or side business, whatever, on Facebook, how can I find out if this is a serious professional whom I can trust? And LinkedIn is a perfect place for that. But both platforms are full of people who only would like to show something without necessarily being honest and true. So therefore, I have an issue, and that is an issue of trust. I need to find out and have a kind of a proof point before I want to learn about the system, what's on offer, also about the person, because that at the end drives a lot. As for now in our industry, it is so important to have also a structure with leaders who we can really see how they help the downline, and therefore it's important. So let's go further, convince with trust. For me, an important sentence this year is perception comes before facts. It's not about if the system is good or bad, but it's at the first time, it's a perception. So therefore, we need to find out if what we perceive is actually a real fact. And let me show you an example at this stage from Facebook of somebody who also reached out to me and wanted to get me into an area about foreign exchange and crypto and all of these keywords that we are in as well. So that was a person, don't want to call him gentleman, a person called Alexander Tapscott. And when I look into this one, and to be honest, if you compare for many of yourself what you write on Facebook or maybe on LinkedIn, you see the same type of keywords. Blockchain enthusiast or crypto expert, trade expert. He's on Facebook for 9 years, okay, so not a fresh created profile, so that's a good thing. You see pictures showing him somehow with some kind of logos behind there. And then I researched further. Apparently he's an author, so like a good perception about it. And he has written a book. So that's good. That might be an interesting one, actually. So then the next day I thought, okay, where is this guy? I typed in his name and I found that one. Must be the same guy. Or maybe not. Then you then look down, lives in Canada, Kentucky. So I'm in Australia, so my geography knowledge might be not that strong in America, but I think Kentucky and Canada are two different things, okay? Works like cryptocurrencies is weird, but then expert in cryptocurrency investment like 𝙏𝙝𝙖𝙣. So he has a typo in there, which is very weird. Okay, and then later I found again and realized, oh, here's another one of that name. How can that be? So who's the real deal? Who's the right one? So that's a kind of a difficulty. And we see this quite often, that there are people out there who have maybe even multiple sites, or in any way it doesn't look that professional, or at least it raises questions. And that should not be. Social media is here as a kind of a proof point. And when you operate with Facebook to generate leads, then LinkedIn is that place to double up and to see that is a real serious person. And many of us are working in maybe a corporate role or something, let's say professional, it's a main gig, and then Cashfx is on the side. And that is good to show that on LinkedIn might be our professional life, to see we are serious, we are honest, real people. And Facebook is where we can place our side business. That doesn't need to be all both together, but at least this type of series I would like to show. But in order to do so, we need to do some changes to our profile. And not to forget, LinkedIn allows only to have one LinkedIn profile per person, not two, not three, just one. So how does it look like? Let's take an example. And I have here picked Mick Worth from Brisbane, because when I asked the question about Ron Palmer, I asked him, hey, where are people around my area? Because Ron is from the UK, I wanted to have someone from Australia. And then he suggested me talking to Mick. So let's look what a good LinkedIn profile makes about. By the way, also, you will receive the slides to this and also recording. And here is a link where it's written see video here. And there you can see a video which I created flying over my own LinkedIn profile on 12 points, really into detail, to show I would need to change this here, press on that button. So really more practical. So which are the things that really matter? First of all, the headline. What did Mick write? I mean, even Mick's name is outstanding, worth. The guy is really worth his money, so to say, but not everyone has that. So he writes, learn how to create cash flow on autopilot. He even creates a full stop to make this is a short statement and full stop, that's true. This headline needs to stick. In the past, many people wrote, job role at company. How boring is that? There should be something what's more relevant. And here, as Mick uses LinkedIn for Cashfx business, he places this here. In my case, I have there more my main profession, which is as a social media consultant for social selling. But at least it looks professional. Then the photo. Mick has black background. Somebody can have light, gray, white background, doesn't matter. But the photo here should not be an Instagram photo. It should be a professional photo that really looks good. As you would see the person, imagine you see him or her in a professional environment. And then comes the background image. And that is interesting because you can see what Mick has done here. He made a nice picture with a tool like Canva, canva.com. It's one of the two exciting Australian software vendors. And there you can easily mix pictures and words. Important here for the background image is aspect ratio. It is not a 16:9 or something like that, but it's 4:1. So it's 4 times wide to a 1 time high. So I did 1600 by 400 pixels. And then he wrote, it's not easy, but it's worth it. Love that. So there can be anything that somehow relates to you, but don't use this standard background. That makes no sense. Next one would be location and the industry. Location is visible, in his case, Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, so that's fine. LinkedIn changed the location, how it's internally recorded. So then in the past, he would not be able, when it would be only written Brisbane, Australia, it would not be possible to search and find him when the state has not been included there. That has been changed recently from LinkedIn, so it's worth to update that. And when you already go and update this, at the same place where you do the changes, there's also the industry. An industry is not visible to anyone, just to LinkedIn, but it's important because that shows if you're in the right industry, then those people who are also there have a higher likelihood to get your content, and the other way around. Contact info is the next picture here, or the next notice on the picture here. And when you click on contact info, let's not forget we would like to get in contact with people. So it's worth to put our email address on there and also our phone number. Even for corporate junkies, it makes no sense to use the corporate email address because you do not want to be overflooded by something. So then many people have their Gmail account. Next one would be the About section, which used to be called Summary. And here Mick wrote really his own story, and he started based on feelings that many people have as well. And that is a good idea because he really gets into this. It's a bit longer than most people would do, but from a story reading point of view, you also see he has a lot of free lines. And that is important because if you read this through, particularly on mobile, because maybe 70–80% in the meantime are using LinkedIn on mobile, then you can really get into the story without having a big block of text. Later down the track, he also adds the experience, and here it's important that we show that we are good people, that we achieve something in our career, and so on. Just for that one, including education, it should be shown. So that's a good one. And then we can add certification, some of the skills. Might be worth even to add some skills in our industry when it comes to finance. Accomplishments, like languages or projects, whatever we have done. And at the end, and that's a good one, is the profile URL. So that is possible as well. So in my case, it would be linkedin.com/in/Gunnar Habitz. If somebody is called Adam Smith, might have struggles to find a really unique profile URL, but not everyone has that. So then make words that also a bit easier. So now let's go from improving your profile, which for me comes before reaching out, so that then connect with the people. And how we do this? Many of you would simply press on the connect button, like on Facebook. If you're on Facebook would like to friend someone, then you cannot do anything. You cannot declare why you want to do the same on Instagram, but here on LinkedIn you can. So therefore what I do, I watch the profile of someone, I prepare the hooks, 1 or 2 hooks, that helps to remember later in the messages. And without that, without a personal invite, I would do it only when it's really obvious, like close friends who have not been connected with, but that's it. Normally, always add this. If you do this on desktop, then per default, it shows you, for example, I connected with Ron Palmer, my upline manager, then it says you can add a note to personalize your invite. And I've done that. And I wrote there, hey, Ron, thanks for showing me the Cashfx business and connecting me with Mick Worth. I really love that business idea and keen to join us up. Let's connect on LinkedIn as well. Writing this is fast, it's easy. I have about 10 different type of invitation scripts in my Evernote. You can store them wherever you want, and that makes it easy. Why do we do this? If you go on the street and you pass your business card to anyone there without any reason, the likelihood of them wanting this is rather low. But if you share something with a reason and declare this, the likelihood to engage in a dialogue is much higher, and it stays forever. Imagine I would not necessarily engage a lot with the person that I'm connecting, but after a while I see something from their contact. And then I would find out, hey, who was that person? And I realize I'm already first-rate connected, but I have no clue why. Then I would simply go in the messages, and there is this initial first connection request with the personalized invite. It stays there, and memory comes back. That's perfect. So on desktop, it's obvious, but how do we do this on mobile? So here's the profile from Ron, as I've done it on my iPhone. And then you can see there's just a connect button, and there's not necessarily the chance to add a note. So I pressed on connect, and that would be straight connected without any chance. So instead of that, I pressed on more, and then this menu comes up, and that has the button of personalized invite, and then I could do that here. And then I can add the same message. So once we have done that and we increase our network. And please, we don't connect with 100 people a day, but maybe just only 10 or 20 to get half of them maybe connected over the next couple of days. Then we can comment with style. Commenting is for me the most underrated way how we can get in contact with our network. So, how to ensure our comments matter. And this is one of the slides here in the presentation which starts with the problem, explains the background of the problem, offers a solution, and then explains why the solution can actually help. So most people comment too short, just with one line. What does it tell me? That people have no clue how to write. They don't care. I actually, as an author of a post, I don't want to see that. So here are these examples, far too short, and that is perceived as if they have a low competency. It's even a missing chance to be recognized by others. When I came to Australia 4 years ago, I built my reputation in the IT sales industry by commenting on the posts of others to get into discussions. That's how they connected with me, not the other way around. So therefore, better to write thoughtful comments with value. I can provide insight, I can add more examples, even be provocative, but at least to get the story up and running. And I also tag people in there. Like here you can see this example. There was an initial post that I wrote about cybersecurity, and then I added a range of 10 people in there, asked them for their view, knowing that they would also reply to that. And you can see here, Bassam, cybersecurity expert, then he started to comment on that. And that exactly is perfect. One day I've been looking to fill a panel section as an event with 3 speakers. I simply posted something and looked who's responding. And those 3 gentlemen, all 3 consultants, they made it then into the event. They've been speaking in this panel session, and then they gained business from that. So there is a real reason for business to make that. So you can start dialogues, you can learn from others, you get leads from that. And you can be perceived as an authority or thought leader, even without writing your own post, but you comment on something, and that is good. And it can even become quite addictive. Let's take some of the examples that we see. Here in Australia, there was a note from the Reserve Bank of Australia that the interest rate will drop down to 0.1% annually. Many people wrote about this. They shared it, they forwarded the articles in their profiles on LinkedIn, on Facebook. So what do? We get into discussion, we comment, that we find a way how we can get more than 0.1%. I mean, maybe 1% per day, not per year. So then commenting helps to get into discussion and find people who are interested. So let's use material that exists somewhere, and then we share this into our network. That's valid for Facebook as well as for LinkedIn. So I call it curate material. And you realize this is point number 5, and all of them are starting with the same letter. Creating with a creative intro. Look at this example. Here's my good friend Alex. We've been working together. He's working at AMD, it's a computer chip supplier, and he's leading the team in Europe. He shared a post that he got from his company. They have been named the company of the year. How exciting is that? He doesn't even send a reason why. We know he's working there. And the typical question from the reader, so what? What's in it for me? It looked even like advertising. And there was no engagement. Nobody wrote anything about it, not even congrats, nothing. So if you want to share something on social media, you do this for a reason. And one of the reasons might be to get dialogue up and running, to see comments, to get engagement, to be perceived as someone who shows something that makes sense, but not in a boring way. So Alex went through my training, and later he also thought about how can we get a more enticing beginning. And he wrote about a story from Microsoft that he wanted to share, but he added a very personal story from himself. It was about school children and about an education offering from Microsoft. And he wrote his reason, what actually Microsoft UK has done in that area for those schools. And that was so much more exciting and so much better. And he got 1,269 views, and he never got so many views. We can, of course, say views is just a vanity metric, but without views, no likes. and without likes, most likely no comments. So these somehow fit together. And with these reasons, it makes more sense. And even when he wrote it, you can see on LinkedIn, when you share something, you have only 3 lines at the beginning. And there are 2 key words. See more. You can see it on the right-hand side. If you write an enticing intro, then people want to press on see more, and then you share your story. And that gets you the engagement. So you can even become known as a writer despite you don't really write. You only take something which is there and add your twist on it. And that is a good one. And then you can see the reactions of the audience. So that is curating. And that gets you further into creating your own content. And how to do that? Who of you is actually a writer? It's not a big thing on Instagram to share some pictures because there it's mostly images. And the majority of the text on Instagram are hashtags. But on LinkedIn, it's a little bit different. So we also need to produce text and how to do that. So the typical content format on LinkedIn is a post which has exactly 1,300 characters, about 200 words. And it can have pictures. So look at this example. That was an event I had for my social selling meetup group here in Sydney in May 2019. Look at the number of views and likes and comments. So I would say it's quite engaging. You see also the 2 words see more with 3 dots beforehand. So I started with the question, how to use the secrets of social selling for solopreneurs and small to mid-sized businesses. And actually that fits into the training for today as well. So then the post itself is what we can see on the right-hand side. 1,300 characters, a lot of free white lines so that the eye can go through it very fast and very good. Bullet points, that's important there as well. And you also see some hashtags. And in LinkedIn, you should use maybe 3 to 5 for a post, not like Instagram where you use 30 to 50. 3 to 5, 3 is good because they help for the search engine optimization of that post, because LinkedIn and Google work in that sense quite well together. And I use the hashtags not just as something at the bottom. I use them to mark some words in between that you can see because they are bold and blue, like LinkedIn Social Selling Monday, which is my own, or Social Selling Later, they are popping in there. And even I add few people in the text, only those in that sense who helped me on this event. And that's became quite engaging. And overall writing this was 15 minutes max. I don't need more for this text, and the text itself fits nicely on a normal smartphone screen these days. So hashtags are important because some people are following hashtags like LinkedIn, social media, whatever. Some other people are engaging a lot about posts who have the same content, and that's why the same hashtags, that's why it's spread around nicely. Adding photos is a bit of a tricky thing on LinkedIn. Typically, you would add maybe 1 picture. If you create material from others, what we had on the slides before, then the pictures are given. You cannot change it unless you use tools like Hootsuite. But here, when you create your own post, you can do this. You can even add more pictures, like in my case here, 4 of them. But you need to play a little bit. You cannot reorder them. And I wanted to ensure that the group picture is the one that is highly visible. And it's possible to close with a call to action or with a question. Sometimes I have a question at the top to get them into the post, and then a question at the bottom to get some kind of comments. It's also worth to keep the URL of that post. And how to do that? You see that there's share button at the bottom. When you press on share, then you can also get the link out of this post. And I suggest to save it somewhere. So I have all of my most important posts on Evernote. You can store them in an Excel spreadsheet, wherever you want, because it's worth to then check back into this post. And maybe to utilize it again, or to share this further with others. So there are always ways that it's worth to keep it, because posts are normally a little bit short-living, but every post has its own URL and can always be found. So what can we put in there? Text, with or without images. Text without image seems weird on social media, which is so highly visual, but they're very well disruptive. And for those who can write well, they get huge engagement, much larger than including pictures. But it's not for everyone. You can add native videos. Native means not a link into YouTube, but directly upload it here. And also you can add polls to raise questions in the sense of, are you happy with the 0.1% of the annual interest rate at the Reserve Bank of Australia? And then you can say, yes, that's fine, or no, I'm looking for a better option, and third, maybe whatever, I'm already invested into property or something. Create a poll. It's running 1 week, and then you will be curious on the results. That will be a good one. By the way, on the poll, only you see the results of the people, and they see just the sum of it. So that's a good new approach. But what do we share actually in a post? Do we write how much we gained last week, 5.64%, and now we are rich? No. We're not bragging. We are storytellers. We rather show a transformation of personal growth. What did we learn? What are the leadership stories that we can learn from this? How did it help me that, I talked to Ray and to Richard and what I can learn from them? What is the influence that we now can have onto the people around us? Do more the storytelling approach so that others also would like to be part of it. Don't show the Bitcoin lifestyle of those which are unfortunately also scammers who just show sitting at a pool or driving the nice cars and so on. That is not the way. That does not work on LinkedIn, and that rather takes people off. So no bragging, makes no sense. So when we have done all of that one, then what is necessary? We need to follow up. And how can we follow up on using LinkedIn? Very interesting. So first of all, if you try to follow up by email, very often inboxes are full, people operate maybe more email addresses, and it's easy to overlook even in LinkedIn, because LinkedIn does have messaging, but not so technically well done, so I cannot filter them, I cannot mark them, unless read or unread, and that's it. So then there must be a different way. So then, as it's not a real inbox, sometimes you're missing out, and that's not good. So let's cut through the noise. Let's really show people that we are communicating with them in a more disruptive way. What we can do using voicemail. If you take LinkedIn on the app, iPhone or Android, then we have at the very bottom this little line where we normally would write our message, and there's a microphone tool icon on the right-hand side, and there's a plus logo on the left-hand side. When we take them, then we can leave a voicemail, a voice message, and that is basically 60 seconds long. And in this example, I only made 4 seconds, but doesn't matter. You see this blue line, you press on it, and then you get the message. That's an alternative to this one. When you press the plus sign, then it opens 8 further buttons. And one of these buttons is the video. And then you can leave a video message. I've done this to Ray Sinclair, and I sent him a message like this. That was a completely different way. And when you get this on LinkedIn, you see somebody leaves you a video message that actually is good. The video message shows up with this play button in the middle, which, as you see, is quite funny because it's over my head. Need to pay attention that next time I record it, not that my face is straight in the middle, maybe a little bit above that, but it's a way how we can demonstrate and showcase how it is to work with you as a person. Because that's what we know in the pandemic, we cannot meet everyone for a coffee. So here we can at least simulate we are real. And also, let's think about our audience. Many of them might have offered already investment opportunities in the Forex market or in crypto markets. And for me, the most obvious thing is to ask those people who would like to offer me something, can we hop on a Zoom call? Or can I leave you a message with a voice? Can I see you? And if they say no, then there's a red flag. So here we voluntarily show who we really are, how it is to work with us. And that exactly makes sense. And even doesn't matter if you're not native English, like in my case, have a dialect, an accent, it doesn't matter at all. At least you show that you are the real person. So disrupt inboxes, get your point across and show you as a person simulating real life. And that's how that can work. So if you summarize all of this one, what we can change from today. These 7 points, starting to convince with trust, is our mindset, what we need to do. The life is all about perception, not necessarily of facts, so let's align them as good as possible. Then we change the profile following the 12 points that I've had there, and also watch the video, which shows you about 18 minutes long, all the topics, what to change here and there. In my example, in my profile, not that it's perfect, but at least you get an understanding when you go through that. The next one would be how to connect properly to leave an impression. And that for me is an important thing. We are not here to collect. Our role is to connect. And that makes much more sense. Then the next ways is 3 ways how to engage with people. First is commenting, then curating, and the third one is creating the content, and finally how to craft direct messages. If you would like to connect with me and you haven't done it during the recording so far over the last couple of minutes, here on the left hand side you can see my QR code. In the meantime, QR codes are quite obvious in those locations where you can go in the pandemic when it has been open or is open, like here in Sydney. In cafes, you always need to scan this to type in who you are, where you are, and so on. So the QR codes in the meantime are much more obvious to operate. So then you can even use this here on LinkedIn. Because on LinkedIn, if you like to connect with someone, instead of typing their name and you see someone face to face, you can do this as well. In the search bar is a QR code button. One person shows the code, the other person scans the code. Much more easy, particularly when there are names like Adam Swiss, there exist maybe hundreds or thousands of them. So that's the one for me. Please connect with me. Happy to share you more around this. So then, as I mentioned, this is how, in addition into Ray's Power Build system, is nothing which is in any way of contrary to this. So therefore, see it as a kind of a contribution into the whole Cashfx community from Richard and Ray and so on. And I'm very happy to be part of this one. A little bit of an invitation here at this stage. So I run my webinars, free webinars, once per month for about an hour, typically at 7 p.m. Sydney time. And the next one will be on Monday, the 7th of December. You can then register on the link here, linkedinpowernet.com. It's totally free. I'm not at this stage selling anything, because my purpose here to talk to you is rather how I can add value in the whole community of Cashfx. And I strongly believe in a complementing way, using LinkedIn in addition to what you're doing so far. It can show us in a very trustful light, and it can help us to follow up with everyone. So that's what I wanted to share, and I hope that was valuable for you. Looking forward to connect with you, and I wish you and all of us great luck and great success with Cashfx. And we really should know that we are here in a great gold mine that can help us so much. So thanks everyone, and happy to show back and go back to Richard. Thank you.
That's absolutely brilliant, Gunnar. And I'm sure everyone on the call felt the same way. It's a very in-depth look at how to get the best of LinkedIn. I think a lot of people are interested in building through LinkedIn, but really don't have much guidance and are just doing basic things. But hopefully this information will take them to the next level. Obviously, there is quite a lot of information, guys, so this is going to be recorded, so you will be able to watch it again and pick up key points from it. One thing I would like to say, well, people are still jumping in, it's a bit late now, but there we go, is that like anything, when you're building a business, it gets back to what I'll say again and again. You are going to get setbacks along the way. There are going to be things that aren't necessarily working for you. And what you've got to do is then step back and look at it. As I said, treat it like a real business, and assess what you're doing and adapt. Always adapt. Hone, improve, learn your skills. I think sometimes people see online marketing as an easy, simple route to market. It's a very effective route to market, but as we've shown here, you do have to work at it, like anything. We've got a lot of people in the business doing very well through social marketing, but again, they're all consistently doing the activities every single day on what needs to be done to create that profile, create that trust, as Gunnar was talking about. So like anything, you have to work at it. And like anything, you're going to get periods of time when it might not necessarily be working well for you. That doesn't mean that the actual route to market doesn't work. It means sometimes you have to look inward and assess what you're doing, and then adapt. And so that's a key thing. You know, it's the same for all of us. Whatever style and the way we build the business, there are always going to be roadblocks along the way, and you have to sort of go round them, over them, under them, through them if necessary, to get the job done. And that's the bottom line, getting the job done. So if it's not working for you, assess, look at how you can improve, and work around that, and then move forward and just keep doing that. And if you keep doing that, you'll start gaining success. Gunnar, I'm sure you didn't learn this like this, did you? It took you quite a while, over quite a period of time. So what you've just seen there is compressing that knowledge down into a short space, but therefore you've got something to work with and something to learn. As I said, it is going to be recorded, so you can watch it again and again and again. So that will really help you. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting, guys. We had a good turnout today. We've had over 500 people. We actually sold out. We're not going to take questions on the call, otherwise it'll take too long. Thanks for coming on the call, and we will have a great weekend, and we'll speak soon. Take care.